The Georgia Senate just passed a bill that would broaden the state's stand your ground law.
That's the law that shields some people from prosecution if they use lethal force to protect themselves. Well, WSAV's Sarah Smith is looking into the proposal, and Sarah is joining us now to explain why opponents are actually pointing to a high-profile case as an example and why this would be a bad idea.
That's right, Tina and Andrew. The bill passed the Senate 30-23, but it didn't come without criticism from Democratic leaders. One in particular asking if this bill would have made it difficult to prosecute those responsible for the death of Ahmaud Arbery. Arbery, a black man, was killed while jogging in Brunswick in 2020 by 3 white men, one of whom was a former police officer. But State Senator Brian Strickland of McDonough says the bill is needed to ensure those accused of crimes are presumed innocent until found guilty. In the Arbery case, for example, a jury found those 3 men guilty beyond a reasonable doubt, even though they tried to claim self-defense. This bill would allow people to claim immunity from prosecution soon after they're charged. Also, cases involving claims of self-defense would only move forward if there's clear and convincing evidence of a crime.
With this bill, we are ensuring our criminal justice system has the balance where the accused is provided the presumption of innocence and due process, and our prosecutors have all the tools they need to keep our families safe.
The problem here is that you're actually going to give a person that right to have deadly force and with a rebuttable presumption. That's a high bar to beat.
The bill now heads to the State House. We'll keep an eye on this legislation and let you know what happens. Sarah Smith, WSAV News 3, on your side.
Sarah, thanks so much. Hampton police investigating after investigators say shots were fired at 2 homes. Happened around 4:30 this morning in an area known as the Bottom. Bullet holes were found in a home on David Drive and a home on Woody Lane. Police say those shootings appear to be targeted and they don't believe there's a larger threat to the community. Detectives have requested SLED assistance as they investigate the crime.
A man convicted of involuntary manslaughter after prosecutors say he killed a man in a bar fight is now asking for a new trial. Prosecutors say on New Year's Eve 2019, Charles Teeple IV punched 66-year-old Bruce Hemley at Basil's Bar on Wilmington Island. Hemley later died. In December, a jury found Teeple guilty on a number of charges. He was set to be sentenced this Friday, but in a new filing, Teeple's attorneys say they have learned jurors may have been pressured to reach their verdict. Now the judge in this case has postponed sentencing so a hearing can be held on the matter. We will keep you updated as we learn more.
A Lowcountry man is out thousands of dollars after getting scammed by someone promising to help him get legal status in the United States. Helton Carrero detailed in the police report how he signed on with a lawyer he found online to help his immigration case. The attorney said he needed $800 for the online hearing and $3,800 total. And then the fees piled up. There was $2,000 for a waiver, $1,000 more for appeal, in all more than $6,800. When he got suspicious, Carrero did more research and found out there was a lawyer by that name in the Miami area, but then discovered they had passed away. Investigators say it is fraud, but it's hard to find the online scammer to prosecute. They do recommend you do your research before ever giving anyone money, especially someone who claims to be a legal expert.
Looking ahead, crews will begin work to remove the arena at the Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Civic Center on March 18th. That is next Wednesday. A part of the parking lot will be closed and public access will be from Barnett Street only. The Liberty Street entrance will be reserved for construction crews. This is part of a larger renovation project for the Civic Center. Officials say they expect it to take approximately 13 months to complete. Well, Americans are feeling the pain at the gas pump as war with Iran continues.
And it comes as Iran cuts off nearly all traffic in a critical waterway for oil. WSC Washington correspondent Maddie Beer-Temple joins us with more on efforts to just stabilize the market. Maddie?
Tina and Andrew, about a fifth of the world's oil flows through the Strait of Hormuz, but with Iran's attacks, it's effectively been closed for business. And in the last day, 3 ships were hit in the strait, with at least a dozen other attacks having taken place in or around the strait since the war began. Iran has threatened to stop all oil shipments through the Strait of Hormuz for the U.S., Israel, and its allies.
Iran's greatest leverage right now is the Straits of Hormuz.
While the Pentagon says the U.S. is winning the war, Iran is still strangling the strait, leading to higher oil prices globally and more pain at the pump.
The war is underway, and we feel it, we see it at the gas pumps of America.
Democrats are zeroing in on the price increases, while Republicans say the war in Iran is temporary and will lead to stability long term.
Are there temporary disruptions and difficulties to navigate? Of course there are. But the long-run goal is energy security, which is national security.
The International Energy Agency agreed Wednesday to release a record amount of emergency oil, 400 million barrels, as markets are disrupted from the war.
To offset the supply lost through the effective closure of the strait.
Meanwhile, President Trump touted the U.S. military destroying 16 Iranian mine-laying vessels near the strait Tuesday.
We took out just about all of their mine ships in one night.
The U.S. campaign is now in its 12th day with no signs of stopping. About 140 service members have been wounded and 7 killed, according to the Pentagon. And on Capitol Hill, lawmakers are expecting the White House to request emergency funding to support the war in Iran. Republican leaders said this week, though, they haven't received a number yet on that. In Washington, back to you.
Maddie, what is the status in that investigation about if the United States struck an Iranian school as well at the start of the war?
Well, the White House says that investigation is still ongoing into the strike that killed more than 165 people, most of them children. And the president has previously blamed Iran for the attack. Today, he was asked about a New York Times report that said the U.S. was responsible for the strike, and he said that he didn't know about it.
Maddie Beer-Temple in Washington, thank you so much.
This conflict is reopening painful memories for the parents of a Savannah soldier killed in the Middle East 2 years ago. Brianna Moffett had just celebrated her 23rd birthday when she was tragically killed days later in a drone strike in Jordan. Now, along with 2 other Georgia service members, including Sergeant Kennedy Sanders of Waycross. Former President Joe Biden at the time said the attack was carried out by, quote, radical Iran-backed militant groups in Iraq and Syria. Well, 2 years later, Moffett's family says it still feels like yesterday, and their hearts go out to the families of the 7 U.S. service members who have been killed in this recent conflict.
Through the same grieving process that we're going through, it's just heartbreaking, because you never want to see this ever happen again. You pray that, you know, eventually it will just stop.
The family says they will continue to share Brianna's story and legacy.
Leaders from across one low-country area gathered today to talk about the past, present, and future of one of the fastest-growing counties in the entire nation. I had the privilege of hosting the Jasper County Chamber of Commerce State of the County event this morning, where hundreds of business leaders joined city managers and mayors from Hardeeville and Ridgeland, as well as Jasper County officials to answer questions about growth, conservation, and housing development. The city of Hardeeville is the fastest growing city in South Carolina, but city leaders say they're working to make sure they don't sacrifice the needs of the community for the sake of speed.
We have to let our partners know, our infrastructure partners know what we're doing. We have to plan for the improvements of the road with the transportation sales tax money. We have to be smart about it. We have to do it intelligently. And I think if we can do that, we'll be able to grow concurrently with all the needs, the infrastructure needs that come with the growth.
County leaders say they believe the I-95 corridor expansion will also bring jobs and commerce to the area, and they're waiting patiently for state leaders to pass bills related to data centers before working on local legislation.
Now, Time Saver Traffic, sponsored by Arrowhead Clinic, the accident doctors, where it pays to get well.
Well, so far for our Wednesday commute, we haven't been dealing with many major issues on the roadways. We have a clear drive along Interstate 16 at Pooler Parkway in Pooler in Chatham County back to the east, though we do have a little bit of a slowdown as you approach along 16 westbound toward I-95 with speeds down to around 45 miles per hour just past the interstate. In the low country, no major issues right now along May River Road, 278 or Buckwalter Parkway. As far as the actual drive times, looking pretty good heading out of the city. If you're going to be going toward Hardeeville, taking just 16 minutes. You're going to be going out to Bullitt County, taking just over a half an hour along Interstate 16.